Welcome to my story time by mybooksummary.com. Get ready for quick wisdom of countless stories and explore. The Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815, were a series of major conflicts involving Napoleon Bonaparte's French Empire and a fluctuating coalition of European powers. These wars fundamentally reshaped the political and social landscape of Europe, marking the decline of traditional monarchies, the spread of revolutionary ideas, and the eventual rise of new power dynamics. The wars are often seen as the culmination of the French Revolution, which had begun in 1789, and they set the stage for the modern era. The rise of Napoleon and the early wars. Napoleon Bonaparte emerged from the turmoil of the French Revolution, rising through the military ranks due to his extraordinary skills as a general. He became first consul of France in 1799 after a coup d'état and later crowned himself emperor in 1804. His rise marked the beginning of a new chapter in European history, one defined by French dominance and military innovation. The Napoleonic Wars were, in many ways, a continuation of the French Revolutionary Wars, 1792 to 1802. They began in 1803 after a brief period of peace between France and Britain, known as the Peace of Amiens. Napoleon's ambitions to expand French territory and influence across Europe led to a breakdown of this peace, and war was declared once again. The first major conflict of the Napoleonic Wars was the War of the Third Coalition, 1805, where Britain, Austria, Russia, and Sweden formed an alliance against France. The war culminated in the Battle of Austerlitz, a decisive victory for Napoleon over the Austro-Russian forces. This battle cemented Napoleon's reputation as one of the greatest military commanders in history and effectively destroyed the Third Coalition, the continental system, and the expansion of the empire. Following his success at Austerlitz, Napoleon embarked on a campaign of territorial expansion across Europe. He established the Confederation of the Rhine, a coalition of German states under French influence, and annexed large portions of Italy and the Low Countries. His empire spanned much of Western and Central Europe, with Napoleon appointing family members and loyalists to key positions of power in various occupied territories. One of Napoleon's most significant and controversial strategies was the continental system, implemented in 1806. The aim of this economic blockade was to weaken Britain, which had a powerful navy and controlled global trade, by preventing European nations from trading with the British. While the continental system was initially successful in disrupting British trade, it also led to widespread economic hardship in the countries that were forced to comply, including France's allies. This contributed to growing resentment toward French dominance. The Peninsular War, 1808 to 1814. One of the most costly and long-lasting conflicts during the Napoleonic Wars was the Peninsular War, which began in 1808. Napoleon's decision to invade the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, was a critical miscalculation. His aim was to enforce the continental system by controlling the Spanish and Portuguese economies and to place his brother, Joseph Bonaparte, on the Spanish throne. However, the invasion sparked a popular rebellion in both Spain and Portugal, and British forces, led by the Duke of Wellington, provided significant support to the Spanish and Portuguese guerrilla fighters. The Peninsular War turned into a protracted and bloody conflict, draining French resources and weakening Napoleon's position. The war also served as a rallying point for anti-French sentiment across Europe, further inflaming resistance to Napoleon's empire. The Russian Campaign, 1812. Perhaps the most famous and disastrous campaign of Napoleon's career was his invasion of Russia in 1812. Napoleon had hoped to force Tsar Alexander I to comply with the continental system by launching an invasion. However, the campaign quickly turned into a catastrophic failure. Napoleon's army, known as the Grande Armée, was massive, consisting of over 600,000 men from across Europe. But the Russians adopted a scorched earth strategy, retreating deeper into their vast territory and burning crops and villages along the way, denying the French army food and supplies. The Russian winter, combined with starvation, disease, and constant harassment from Russian troops and partisan fighters, decimated Napoleon's forces. By the time Napoleon reached Moscow, the city was abandoned and in flames, and he was forced to retreat. The retreat from Russia was a rout, and the Grande Armée was destroyed, with fewer than 100,000 men making it back to France. This defeat significantly weakened Napoleon and marked the beginning of his downfall. The Sixth Coalition and Napoleon's fall. After the disaster in Russia, the European powers saw an opportunity to strike at Napoleon. A sixth coalition was formed, consisting of Britain, Russia, Prussia, Spain, Sweden, Austria, and other smaller allies. In 1813, the coalition forces defeated Napoleon in the Battle of Leipzig, also known as the Battle of Nations. The defeat at Leipzig forced Napoleon to retreat to France, and the coalition armies soon entered French territory. In 1814, Paris fell to the coalition forces, and Napoleon was forced to abdicate. He was exiled to the island of Elba in the Mediterranean, where he was given a small principality to rule. However, Napoleon's exile was short-lived. The 100 Days and the Battle of Waterloo. In 1815, Napoleon escaped from Elba and returned to France for a brief period known as the 100 Days. He quickly regained support from the French people and military, and he attempted to reassert his dominance over Europe. However, the powers of the Seventh Coalition, including Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia, were determined to stop him once and for all. The final confrontation between Napoleon and the coalition occurred at the Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815. Napoleon's forces were decisively defeated by the British-led army under the Duke of Wellington and the Prussian army under Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher. Napoleon was forced to abdicate once again, and this time he was exiled to the island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic Ocean, where he would die in 1821. The legacy of the Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars had a profound and lasting impact on Europe and the world. The Congress of Vienna, held after Napoleon's final defeat, sought to restore the balance of power in Europe and redrew the map of the continent. The Napoleonic Wars led to the rise of nationalism, the spread of democratic ideals, and the eventual unification of Italy and Germany in the 19th century. Napoleon's legal reforms, particularly the Napoleonic Code, left a lasting legacy on legal systems around the world. In military terms, the Napoleonic Wars ushered in new tactics and innovations in warfare, such as mass conscription, the use of artillery in combined arms operations, and the importance of logistics. Napoleon's leadership style, characterized by rapid movement and decisive engagement, influenced military strategy for decades to come. The wars also marked the decline of the old order in Europe, as traditional monarchies and empires were challenged by revolutionary forces. While Napoleon's empire ultimately collapsed, the political changes he set in motion would resonate throughout European history. Conclusion: the Napoleonic Wars were among the most significant and transformative conflicts in world history. They were marked by Napoleon's rise to power, his military genius, and his eventual fall from grace. The wars reshaped the political map of Europe, sowed the seeds of future revolutions, and introduced new ideas that would shape the course of the 19th and 20th centuries. Napoleon Bonaparte remains one of the most controversial and iconic figures in history, and the legacy of the Napoleonic Wars continues to be studied and debated by historians and military strategists today. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Head over to www.mybooksummery.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share the magic with friends, and let's grow together through the power of books and interesting stories.